A lot of the time when a man says to you that he wants to build an empire together, he means that he wants you to forego your dreams, goals, and aspirations in life and help him build his. This is going to be a conversational video on how I went from pick me to princess. I feel like a lot of black women were sold on the idea of like romance and just struggle love based on a lot of the movies and TV shows that were presented to us, the type of music that was presented to us. Things like, what's the name of that song where he's like, I ain't got no money, I ain't got no car to take you on a date, I can't even buy you flowers, but something. Like, sir, you don't have no money, you don't have a car to take me on a date, you can't buy me flowers. Let's stop right there. There's no but, let's just stop right there. Get it together, or find somebody who is like okay with that, you know? So that was like the conditioning that I got. And obviously that doesn't work out in your favor as a woman to be with men who cannot provide anything for you, who you have to struggle with for a lot of reasons. Especially as a black woman doing it with black men, I genuinely believe that that is a waste of your youth, a waste of your beauty, a waste of your time, and you will most likely regret it, because a lot of the time when it comes to black men, the women that they come up with, the women that support them through thick and thin, the women who hold them down, pay for them sometimes, the women who invest in their businesses and who basically are their free secretary and all of this shit that they need in order to build themselves up to become the type of men they want to be, those type of women, they are the ones that get left in the dust. Those are the women that look phenotypically like me, get left in the dust, because once he comes up, he doesn't want to be seen around with you anymore, because you remind him of the struggle that he had to go through, for one, and for two, his preferences change. He wants someone lighter, someone whiter. Seeing all of that and realizing that it's really not in your best interest to do that. A lot of the time when a man says to you that he wants to build an empire together, he means that he wants you to forego your dreams, goals, and aspirations in life and help him build his. And if you're not married, you get none of that. If you're just boyfriend and girlfriend and you're working and you're doing all that shit for him, and you're encouraging him every day, you're giving him ideas, you're working on his ideas with him, he's gonna get up and leave with all of that, and you get none of it. Why? There was no commitment made to you. You're not his wife. You're not entitled to any of that. Ooh, this video is gonna get real because I already went in. I was not expecting myself to go in like that, but hey, here we are. I think it's a very poor investment for black women to make. I do not recommend it at all, actually. I recommend you build yourself up, you build your own confidence, you build your own self-esteem, you build your own self-worth, you build your own finances, so that you can meet up with a man who is on your level. And don't build yourself up so high that you're not attracted to anybody. Make sure you get to like a nice level and then start looking for your husband. You don't want to be like 35 and a CEO multi-millionaire and you can't find a guy, because there's not that many of them, you know? And if that's your goal in life, if your goal is to get married and build a family and stuff like that. But I mean, if you just want to be a boss babe forever, go ahead, do that. My first boyfriend, we were like 19, so I wasn't like, what could he possibly do? I just remember like driving to pick him up to go to school. His apartment was further away from my school. Like, I was literally like 5 minutes from the school, and he was 15 minutes from the school. Looking back at it, I'm like, girl, you were doing way too much. Way too much. We as women are just taught to be nice and sweet, and like that honestly doesn't get you the best treatment when it comes to men. And while I'm lucky that he or anybody else didn't really mistreat me, but it was just like, it could have easily happened, for one, and for two, I feel like I invested too much. It's like you feel like you put too much of an investment when you as a woman do all of that shit, when you do too much. The next relationship after that was a guy who was older, and he still owes me $20 fucking. He's still, if you're watching this, Landon, you owe me $20. Cash at me right now. With inflation, this shit's probably like $35. Cash at me right now. Thank you. That one was pretty short-lived, and I still hadn't learned the value of a woman and the role that I want to play in a relationship and in a man's life. I was still learning that, and this guy was pretty boring, so I was just like, I actually don't want to even continue talking to you because you're like boring as fuck. Like, he wanted to go on drives and shit. We barely went on dates and stuff. That's like peak pick-me behavior, is like not even getting romance, not even going out on dates. You're just like doing drives and shit. Like, don't do that, ladies. Make that man take you out, and if he doesn't want to, move on. It didn't feel good to not go on dates. It didn't feel good to have a guy that you really couldn't count on that much because he didn't have any money to even count. Like, it doesn't feel good to be in a relationship with those type of men because I like to feel feminine. I like to feel safe, and that was not a sense of safety for me. So it didn't feel good. So I had to bounce. With the next relationship that I'm referring to, this is when I learned about Miss Shira 7. This was in, I would say like 2018 maybe. I started watching Shira 7, and I started watching Chrissy. I started watching like femininity channels. I started to change who I was in a relationship. In the beginning of that relationship, he would pay for all of the dates. So I had upgraded. I was going on dates. And speaking of that upgrading thing, let me just say real quick that as a woman, you always want to be upgrading. If you're leaving a relationship, you want to upgrade. You want the next relationship to be better, not worse. And I can say luckily for me that the relationships I've been in, every single one has gotten better. Make sure that that is something that you always keep at the top of your mind, because it never feels good to regress, like, please. And if you're regressing, bounce. I learned about Shira 7. I learned about Chrissy. They were like my femininity gurus that I was listening to day in, day out. Like, he literally would be there. Like, this was my boyfriend. He literally would be there hearing me listen to these people, and he knew he was in trouble. Okay, so I'm listening, I'm absorbing the information. I'm like, I'm writing shit down. I literally remember printing out a PDF while I was in a relationship, where to meet rich men. Like, it was insane. I was like wilding out, and he saw the PDF. Like, he came to my house one day, and it was like in a folder, and it was on my desk, and he was like, Merlene, what is this? And I was like, oh, you know, just information. This relationship, we went on dates, and he was paying for most of the dates in the beginning, lost his job, and then was like trying to go 50-50 on most of the dates. I did it for a little while. I was just like, it didn't really feel good anymore. I was like, I don't like this actually. So then I was just like, I'm not gonna go out. Like, it was either we don't go out, which of course would not be good because he knows that I like to go out. So it's like, if we don't go out for like a week or over 2 weeks, I'm not gonna come see you. Like, I'm not gonna just keep coming to your house. And he knew that. So I remember we went on a date. I basically compiled all the information that they were saying. I bought a new dress. I looked as good as humanly possible. I'd spent like an hour doing my makeup. I looked pretty. I was like, okay, I'm gonna be my most feminine self. And I was super happy, super pleasant, super fun on the date. It was a good time. And then the waiter asked how we're going to do the bill. And then he was like, he wanted to split it. And I basically like changed my energy like instantly. Like, I was so happy. I was like, oh my gosh, ooh, my margarita. And then he said that. I was like, him talking to me. It started to like click. We were actually gonna go to his house after, because that was like a daytime date. It was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I just was like, you know what? Can you just take me home? We literally live like 3 minutes away from each other. So he picked me up. And I was like, can you just take me home? I actually don't want to really go out anymore. I'm really feeling like, At that point, I started to just embrace more of my feminine energy. I was just no longer splitting dates. As time went on, I started getting treated more and more like a princess throughout this relationship. So it is possible to, if you already in a relationship and you already are being masculine, or you're not being treated like a princess in the relationship, to actually change it. But you don't change it by telling him you want him to change. It's by you changing yourself. So I changed myself, and then he changed along with me. My values had changed. I wanted to be more feminine. I wanted to be more taken care of. I wanted to be more safe. I know what I want for my future self, and if it's something that you cannot provide, I will bounce. I will go find it. Something I think that women need all around the world need to know is that you and your boyfriend can keep you from your husband. If you stick around and you're constantly trying to like make your boyfriend into your husband and it's not working, girl, get the f out of there. Go find your husband. It's not him, clearly. So that's exactly what I did. But you know, he was working. He literally was like trying to buy a house. That was where I went. Like, imagine a relationship going from 50-50 on dates to the man trying to buy you a house. It was a serious level up within the relationship, and that gave me like a lot of confirmation that this is the way that men actually are wired. They actually do find value in protecting a woman, in taking care of a woman. If you would have said that in the beginning of the relationship, that this man was going to try to buy me a house, I would have been like, I don't know. That was a serious evolution, and I do believe that it is possible. But like I said, you have to do it from within. Feminine energy is more intrinsic, it's more inward focused. You have to focus on leveling up yourself from the inside, and don't worry about informing him. Don't worry about telling him, oh yeah, so I'm gonna change, like I'm gonna be a bitch now. And it didn't stop there. After leaving that relationship, the princess treatment was literally the epitome of everything that I accepted and more. I did not pay for a single date. I was going on dates that costed $1,000. $1,000 US. I remember I went on a date that costed $888 and I posted it on TikTok, and it was like, my man
don't never have to worry about the bill because I'm always read it to him. It's $50.95.
That one went viral and everybody was like, oh, like, why they didn't tip enough? Like, you, I get it, you got your angel numbers, but that tip was, it was $100 tip on top of 22% already of a service charge. I was like, bitches is mad. Like, calm the fuck down. Shira's teachings are very dark feminine. Like, they're good for when you need to get the out of a situation that is not serving you. It'll give you that fire, but if you stay there, you will be like too harsh. You'll be too flowy enough to actually get into a relationship because you're like constantly just searching for the next best thing. I did fall into that for a little bit, but I did make a video called Decentering Men, and I did go into a little bit more depth about being the dark feminine. Then in my final relationship before this one, I was the ultimate princess. Oh my God, 21-year-old Merlene would have been like, yo, you did that shit. First of all, the man bought me a car within 2 months of knowing me, and we hadn't even slept together. I'm sitting in there right now. It's like perfectly maintained. It's like, what? I was truly a princess through and through. Like, I felt safe. All of the things that I wanted to feel from the first moment that I knew that something was wrong when I was paying for a date. I knew something in me, like this version of me was telling me, girl, oh, that's disgusting. Please stop right now. I do believe that that was this version of me that was telling me, ew, that's gross. Stop paying for that date. That's why you feel like you're about to throw up. You're nauseous right now. Stop it. And that's exactly what I did. I stopped it and I tried to find a solution. I was like, okay, this is not gonna work. I hate this so much. I might as well not go on a date, because why the hell would I go on a date and feel like I want to throw up? This is ridiculous. This is conversational Merlene. This is insane Merlene. If anybody made it this far, this is great. Please subscribe if you haven't already. If you like these type of videos where I'm just like, we're talking, we're chatting like besties, definitely subscribe. Send me a comment if you made it this far. Like, you know, I would love to know if this type of video is interesting to you. My nervous system was so regulated. I didn't have to worry about anything. I was just like a happy pampered princess. I was creating really good content because I was just creating out of a sense of abundance instead of creating out of feeling like necessary or obligation, because I was super consistent at that time. And it's easy to create when everything is taken care of. You know, when you're in survival mode, it's a lot harder to create. And I did experience that, like right before COVID happened, I was like really depressed and I was really like wanting to quit my job, but I didn't know what to do because I was, like I said, I was with the ex that I should have gave these people names. I didn't know it was going to be a story time. The ex that we went from me paying for half of the dates to him trying to buy me a house. We'll call him Harry for house. When I was with Harry, right before COVID, I really wanted to quit my job because I was working like a stupid like call center job. I wanted to create YouTube videos. I was creating YouTube videos and I just wanted to do that full time, and I just wanted to tap into my creativity, and I just didn't want to be like at work. I didn't have anything to fall back on. I had savings, but it was only like a couple of $1,000s, so that wasn't gonna last very long. Whenever I brought it up, he was just like, yeah, but like, is that realistic? Like, is that something you can do? And I was just like, I don't like this. I'm gonna go find me a rich man. Yeah, that was basically my journey of going from pick me to princess. I'm not gonna talk about the relationship that I'm in right now because I'm currently in it. This is the person I plan on marrying, like princess treatment through the roof. Just lovely and happy and grateful. We'll talk about how to even go from a pick me to a princess. Just really quickly, because you've been here for a long time. What I did was I embodied my feminine energy. I started asking for help. I stopped trying to do everything by myself. I stopped being afraid to ask for help. My nervous system used to get dysregulated when I needed to ask for help. My heart would start beating. It was because I was just conditioned to like not ask for help. Yeah, especially when it came to like financial help or like stuff with my car. I just was like afraid to ask. That came from like being in college and asking my dad for money and him being like, oh yeah, I don't have it, like I can't give you it. And I was hungry. I didn't even have any groceries, so I was just like, okay, fine, I'm gonna do it myself. So I stopped doing that and I started asking for help, and I just started asking men around me for shit, and that like helped increase my feminine energy. I wasn't just so like, oh, I'm Miss Independent, I don't need help. So that just helped soften me up, soften my energy. I raised my standards. You can't be a princess if you're dating peasants, you know? You gotta raise your standards. I didn't let broke boys breathe in my directions. I started going to the wealthy neighborhoods in my area. I started going to talk to people who were just doing better in life. As I started mingling with those types of people and I started seeing how they interacted with each other, I was around men who literally treated women like princesses anyway. I was around masculine men, and masculine men treat feminine women like princesses. I became more independent, so I was not going to just have the attention of a man around me because he was a man. If a man was not providing what I needed him to provide, I was okay with letting him go. Like I literally was celibate for like almost 2 years because of that. Like they weren't providing what I needed them to provide, so I was just like, gotta go. I think that definitely helped bolster my femininity and made me more attractive and more magnetic. Just really helped bring people in my life who would treat me like a princess and not men who were self-proclaimed cheapskates. And the last way I went from pick me to princess was I got mentors. A big part of this transformation was listening to people like Shira Seven, like the Universe Guru, like Chrissy, people who were preaching about femininity, especially those early femininity YouTube channels. They were like the bread and butter of my YouTube watch history. That was like all I was watching. I was taking notes. I started buying books. I bought Why Men Love Bitches. I was buying books about like the masculine and feminine dynamics and what it takes to be a woman who gets everything she wants out of life, because it doesn't just take beauty. It comes from the inside as well, because there are beautiful women out here who are getting treated like trash by these men. It's a sad reality for a lot of women. Just a lot of different information from a lot of different places that helped me to banish the programming that I had about being an independent woman. Not independent in the sense where you are fulfilled within yourself, but independent in the way that you're like, you don't ask a man for anything, or you don't ask him to help you move furniture, you don't ask for his advice, you don't ask for anything. Like he's just like a freaking doll in your life. Men don't want to feel that way. Like they don't want women who make them feel like a freaking doll, and they will begin to resent you for that. So yeah, that is the story on how I went from pick me to princess. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Later.